How does the audio sound now? Oh. There we go. Now you can hear me. So let me recap there. We have a tornado warning, actually a confirmed tornado on the ground right now. This warning goes until 3:30 this afternoon. Chesterfield, Florissant, St. Louis University City, all included in this tornado warning right now. This is about 1 million people, or just under 1 million people included in this warning. Again, this is just to the north of St. Louis. It is moving from the west up to the northeast right now, and it's going to hit the northern side of the city or just to the north of the city now. We are getting reports. You guys can hear us. That's fantastic. Tell us where you're watching from today. Are you watching from St. Louis, or are you watching from someplace else across the U.S.? This really is the big storm that we have going on right now, and I'm working to get our St. Louis radar pulled up. At the moment, it is on, so we are still working to get that pulled up. And while we get that, put your questions and your comments in the comments section, and we will get to those questions. We will be answering just city by city, mile by mile, what we are expecting to happen here. But let's make sure that we can get that radar up first. In this area, in the Chesterfield area, is where we see that storm right now. Working to get that radar up. And I can see a lot of people jumping on saying, our audio sounds good. Yeah, thank you for letting us know. We appreciate that help there. We really do appreciate that. And what we're doing right now is we're just kind of reminding the system, hey, let's pick up some radar data. Perfect. We have it now. That is great to see, because we absolutely need to warn those out in St. Louis if there is anything coming for them. So let's go right down into the heart of the city. Okay, we're still working on getting that radar picked up here. We had it earlier, not quite sure what happened there. Let's try one more time here. But what we can tell you right now is, and there we go, now we have that radar. Okay, perfect. So what we can tell you, again, you have a confirmed tornado on the ground according to the National Weather Service. Let's actually get some information from the National Weather Service here. They're saying that the biggest hazard is a damaging tornado moving to the northeast at 35 miles an hour. This is radar confirmed, so they're looking at the radar just like you and I are looking at the radar right now, and they can see this confirmed. So if we zoom down in here and take a look at exactly the area that they are looking at, and what I like to do is I like to look at it. If you guys also use radar scope, I know a lot of you do, this is what we're looking at right here. It's hard to catch, right? Very, very difficult to catch. Storm relative velocity showing us that we absolutely see some rotation. I told you that we would go down mile by mile here, and what we're seeing is right now, River Valley Drive. This is where we're seeing the best rotation right now. Let's go to correlation coefficient. Okay, we absolutely do have some, what we're watching for are some of these blues popping up on the map, and if we have any of these blues popping up, that means that we probably have a touchdown. Yes, right here is what we're looking at. So this area right in here, next to River Valley Drive, is what we're looking at for that potential touchdown. But the National Weather Service has confirmed that there has been a tornado already. They're saying a damaging tornado. So not just a tornado, out in a field where no one is at. I mean, this is a very populated area of the country near Maryland Heights, near Fern Ridge. This is where our tornado warning is at right now. Okay. I'm reading some of our updates from our meteorologists. They're saying that it could be potentially occluded, and I think that's why it's extremely difficult to spot here on radars, because we are seeing that potentially rain wrapped here. It's not great for the health of the tornado. It's good for the population of St. Louis. Now let's see if we have any questions in our comments section. I can see your questions from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. That's where we're live streaming right now. And we do have quite a bit of questions on here right now. First question I see, great question here. Where is it headed? So this storm is moving to the northeast at about 35 miles an hour. If I zoom out a little bit to give you a look at the city, and then I can put an arrow on our radar, you can see that it is moving up to the northeast. So what we're watching is from Maryland Heights up to the Ferguson area. Now let me tell you something about this line of storms right here. What we're watching for is potentially several areas of rotation, not just one area of rotation, but we could see several areas of rotation here. So while we may be focused in on one area, the National Weather Service has warned this entire area here because of the potential other spin-ups that we could see in this area. Okay, brand new information now. This tornado warning is no longer confirmed. This is now a classic tornado warning, something that you see, it's not a confirmed tornado warning. It is your classic tornado warning. They're saying, the National Weather Service is basically saying that they think that that tornado has lifted off of the ground, however, has the potential to form again. So, new and updated tornado warning here for St. Louis, Florissant, I hope I'm saying that correct, Maryland Heights, and University City. This goes until 3:30 this afternoon. About 750,000 people included in this warning right now. And again, this is for the northern side and western side of St. Louis. So here is St. Louis proper. You go out to the west and you go up to the north, and that is where your tornado warning is. So right along the highway here, what highway is this? Highway 250, Highway 64. So north of Highway 64, and right along 270, south of Highway 70, that is where the warning is right now. Let's zoom in and let's get more cities on this map right now as I look back at your questions and see if I can answer any more questions. Let's answer some questions here. Is Florissant in danger? So I don't like to use the word danger. However, I do like to use the word, you should absolutely be taking cover right now. So if we go back to our warning, the National Weather Service has actually called out Florissant, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, by name. They're saying that that is still a city that is included in the warning right now. So yes, I would take cover if I am in that city. Go to the most inner room of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Try to go to the most inner room on the bottom floor of either your home or whatever structure you're in. I know a lot of people are at work right now, so I know that may be a little bit of a different circumstance, right? Where do you go? If you're at work, now is the time to take that cover and make the safest decision possible for yourself. Let's see if we can answer any other questions right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a look. Actually, we see some traffic cameras up right now. We appreciate John for helping us out with that. What we are looking at right now are Missouri Department of Transportation cameras, and we can see that rain coming down pretty heavy. It does make me a bit nervous that people are on the roadways at this time, but it looks like people are moving fine on the roadways. You can see in the distance there that we are seeing some lower visibility. You can see the white in the distance from curtains of rain coming down. And again, this is courtesy of Missouri Department of Transportation. We are getting new updates here that the sirens are going off again. So sirens going off. And hey, if you could tell us, where are you reporting that at? Cyphersonic and Tails. That's the username that we're seeing this report. Where are you at that you are seeing those sirens go, or hearing those sirens go off? Another saying, there is a tornado warning. Yes, that tornado warning is still ongoing. You can see that behind me from Maryland Heights down to Creve Coeur. I hope I'm saying that correctly. University City, Jennings, and Florissant, which someone had asked about Florissant earlier. Now you are not in the peak of that intensity yet. These storms will continue to track towards you And so your area is not in the, you're going to see these storms intensify as they approach your area. So Florissant, Jennings, University City, you're going to hear some very, very loud winds here pretty soon. You're going to get a torrential downpour right now, and you may have a flooding issue on the roadways as well. So the issue here is not just that potential tornado, but also the high winds and the torrential downpour that comes with it. Any other questions? Yes, sirens going off in Creve Coeur. Sirens going off in Chesterfield. Another great question here, is the tornado on the ground? Not that we know of right now. However, it was on the ground farther back to the west, and what we're hearing is the Chesterfield area is where that touched down. So we are not getting any reports of this tornado on the ground right now. However, the potential for one to spin up is still there, which is why we have that tornado warning. Still going through some of your questions here. Sirens going off in Oakville. Thank you for your reports here. We really appreciate it. One question asking, is it moving east? I'm in Fenton and thought that it was going to miss me. So yes, this is moving to the east right now. This is actually moving to the northeast. So from Maryland Heights, it's moving up to the Florissant area, from Creve Coeur up to the University City and Jennings area. We have another update from our Missouri Department of Transportation cameras. Some people are pulling over on the side of the road. You can kind of see people going a little bit slower. Do you see those flashing hazards? People are flashing their taillights, indicating that these storms are slowing them down on the roadways. We often see whenever it's impacting people, that means that storms are slowing them down. So you can see that people are flashing their hazards. Yeah, so they must be having some reduced visibility because of the high wind out there. Let's watch this stream for just a minute here because I want to get a look at the rain. Also, look at these cars on the far left-hand side of the highway here. As they're going away from the camera, they are pushing up so much water there. Holy moly. I mean, there's a lot of rain coming out of this. So you're not just going to see that high wind and tornado threat, but you are also going to see that flooding risk as well. And we know that there could be a pretty potential dangerous flooding risk with some of these storms, as we've already seen yesterday from storms yesterday. Michael is saying in Jennings right now, so Jennings is included in that tornado warning. We are still under a tornado warning for Jennings, so make sure that you go to the innermost room of your house and try to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You are still included in a tornado warning right now. Let's actually, because I'm seeing a few more people jump on here, let's get an update on this tornado warning. So from the National Weather Service, this tornado warning goes for another 11 minutes. So we're talking about Florissant, Maryland Heights, St. Louis, and University City. About 750,000 people impacted or in the way of this warning right here. This again goes until 3:30. Ooh, did you see that lightning? You guys can still see you can still see the camera on the side of the screen there. Oh, great lightning from these storms that are coming in. You know what? Hey, John, could you pull up the Arch camera, the St. Louis Arch camera, and we can see this storm come in as it moves to the north of St. Louis. John's helping me produce today, so you guys, I really appreciate John helping us out right now. Once again, to kind of give you a look at what we're looking at here, right? We zoomed out. You can see St. Louis right over here in the corner of the screen. And we are now getting an updated tornado warning. So those who are out of the tornado warning, no longer included in the tornado warning, is the east side of Creve Coeur. Let's zoom down in here. Maryland Heights, Kirkwood, all excluded from the tornado warning. You guys may still have some heavy rain coming down. That torrential downpour may still be happening, so don't go outside quite yet. However, you are no longer in the tornado warning. Baldwin, Chesterfield, all outside of that warning as well. Who is in the tornado warning? That would be Maryland Heights, excuse me, I misspoke there. That would be Ferguson, University City, the north side of St. Louis, right to the south of 270 and to the east of 170, to the north of Highway 64. Again, this tornado warning goes for another 9 minutes, and I do expect the National Weather Service to let that expire in the next 9 minutes. I do expect them to let that expire after this warning goes through St. Louis itself. So we've probably got another 10-15 minutes to cover this area, and then it'll be farther off to the east of St. Louis, okay? Other places that are getting storms right now, just a complete downpour in St. Charles right now. Let's zoom out of our screen here and see if we've got any other severe thunderstorm warnings out there. No severe thunderstorm warnings, however, the tornado warning up in St. Charles. Here's another warning for you. St. Charles, anywhere from 94 all the way up to Elsa and West Alton, we have another tornado warning. Let's get some time on this. What time does this expire? 4 o'clock. So we've got about 35 more minutes on this tornado warning coming out of St. Charles right now. Moving to the northeast, most likely right around 35 miles an hour. So a lot of people like to ask, is this a slow mover? Is this a fast mover? This is about normal. About 35, 40 miles an hour is about normal. However, I did misspeak. I looked at the movement of this storm. It's at 20 miles an hour. So that's a bit slower. And let me tell you, with this much rain and how fast it's coming down, if it's a slow mover, you're going to get a ton of rain in this area, once again increasing that flooding risk in this area. Okay, brand new cameras for you now. Let's take a look at those cameras. We are looking at some slowdowns on the highway, and we're working to get that up here for you. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you, John. A lot of people on the roads right now. So we've got some slowdowns on the highway at the moment. People are putting on those tail lights, slowing down. We may have, they're kind of bottlenecking here, John, so I'm kind of wondering if there is some sort of traffic issue right ahead of them. I'm just kind of wondering out loud here. We don't know that for sure. But there may be some sort of traffic issue out ahead of them. Now, do remember, this is not quite to the evening commute. However, all of the rain in this area could slow down your evening commute. So give yourself enough time to get out the door this evening. Don't try to rush on the roadways while the roads are wet. That can only cause poor things. Let's see what other questions that we have. One person asking, is there a confirmed tornado on the ground? No, not right now. There is not a confirmed tornado on the ground at the moment. However, we did have a confirmed tornado earlier this afternoon, about 20-30 minutes ago. We had a confirmed tornado back towards Chesterfield, which really sparked all of these warnings, right? The National Weather Service issued a tornado warning and then almost immediately confirmed it because they saw some sort of confirmation. I think it was radar confirmation down in the Chesterfield area. So that's why they've stayed on pretty high alert from these storms. Let me tell you another thing about these storms here. Right from, do you see this? Do you see how this line of storms is like kind of bowing out here? It's making that backwards C-shaped right here. What that often means is some extreme wind in the area. So we're probably getting some really high wind gusts in this area, as well as that just complete downpour. So basically what that means is that we are not only going to see that tornado potential, but also that extreme wind potential as well. This is something that we saw yesterday out in Kansas City. Kansas City is another place that we saw those high winds and that potential tornado yesterday as well. One thing that we look at from these storms is we look for these little divots, like right here. We look for these little divots because we can often see spin-up tornadoes in these little divots. And I think a common misconception is that spin-up tornadoes are weak tornadoes. That is not always the case. They can be strong, but basically what that means is exactly what we've seen today, where a tornado can touch down and then it can lift back up, and then it can touch back down, and then it can lift back up. And what that means for people of St. Louis and people of Overland and people of Florissant is that the National Weather Service has to warn this entire area because we could see a spin up, maybe another spin up, maybe another spin up. Now it's possible. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening right now, but this type of severe weather event is often what we see is that spin up tornado in these little divots right here. Let me see if we can pull some other cameras up on the screen as we get more questions in. I'm watching your questions on the side of the screen. Here's a great question. Mary Kate asks, any chance for hail? Very, very low chance for hail. I would say smaller than the size of a quarter. This is what we call pocket change hail, penny, nickel, dime-sized hail, small hail, if any, in this storm. So I would not say there's a ton of hail here. However, think about if there is any hail with a strong wind gust, that could cause absolutely some major impacts. Okay, I'm still reading your questions on the side of the screen. We appreciate you guys hopping on here today. Let me know where you're watching from today. Are you in St. Louis or are you in some other place across the entire country? We cover weather across the entire country. Yesterday we covered storms out in Kansas City and in Oklahoma City, and today we are in St. Louis. So we're going to pull up a few more cameras here. I'm going to show you, very, very dark view outside of Florissant right now. So John's showing you a camera view outside of Florissant right now where we are seeing just heavy, heavy rain come down right now. Actually so heavy that you can barely see those cars in the distance. Look on the top right-hand corner of your screen. You can barely see the cars in the distance there. So it is absolutely an area that you don't want to be. The roadway during a tornado warning, that is not an area that you want to be in. Watching these cameras here. Another thing that I see from this camera view is that a lot of people are flashing their hazards. This is a very common thing that we see whenever people have low visibility. So we're talking about they can't see the car in front of them. They're having trouble finding the lines on the road. People will turn on their hazards at that point. So that is probably what's going on right now. Probably what they're seeing is a complete downpour in this area, and then they can't see the lines on the road in front of them. They can't see that car in front of them. It becomes a very, very dangerous situation. So even if there is not a tornado on the ground, still it could be a hazardous situation to be out in right now. Hey, John, I'm going to switch you, and I'm going to pull up the St. Louis Arch camera right now. So here is the St. Louis Arch camera. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger for you all. How do we look with that? What you can see here from the St. Louis Arch camera is we've got just clouds covering the sky. Now, downtown St. Louis itself looks pretty dry. Most of this storm has gone to the north, so it does look pretty dry right here, which is great news because this is a very populated area. Okay, I'll switch you back, John. One person asking about Chesterfield. Chesterfield, actually, let's go back down there. Because no, you are not in a tornado warning down in Chesterfield right now. However, we do have a local storm report. So let's get some information on this local storm report sent in by most likely a emergency management or some sort of public figure in the area. Police department, fire chiefs will often send in local storm reports. So again, this is in Wildwood. There's a report of large trees snapped, a roof or side of a garage heavily damaged, and debris strewn around. So again, this is to the south and west of Chesterfield, just to the north, but technically in Wildwood, just to the north of Highway 100 here. Once again, that is a report of trees snapped, a roof or side of a garage heavily damaged, and debris strewn. This came in at 2:51 this afternoon, so that was about 40 minutes ago, which tells us that even before the storm was warned, the storm was warned at this time. It was shortly after the storm was warned we were seeing that damage. It was damaging properties. So we're glad that we did get those warnings as this storm came into more populated areas. Okay, brand new information. There is no longer a tornado warning for the St. Louis area. No longer a red box here. No longer a tornado warning for this area. Now there is one up in St. Charles. Let's go up to the north here. This tornado warning goes until 4 o'clock. We've got another 29 minutes on this. From St. Charles up to West Alton, we still have another tornado warning ongoing up to the north of St. Louis right now. And I'm wondering, while we read some of your comments on here, I'm going to check with the St. Louis National Weather Service. We're going to go to their Twitter. Check with them and see if they are saying anything about this. They are not giving us any updated information. However, there is no longer a tornado warning in St. Louis. So that is great news. We'll answer a few questions before we hop off of here. Any news for Florissant? I have work. It's going to be wet. It's going to be a wet drive. You are probably going to come up on ponding on roadways, potentially some flooded areas, but you do not have a tornado warning. So there's Florissant. Now there is a warning just to the north of you, but Florissant itself is tornado free. Let's take a look at the rain. How long is this rain going to stick around for? In Florissant, I would say it's probably going to stick around for another 15 to 20 minutes. After that, you'll probably be rain-free. What's behind this line of storms? No more storms, at least at this moment, behind this line of storms right here. All right, what you see on your screen is still rain coming down at 270 in McDonald. You're looking to the east right now, and you're seeing semis keep a pretty good speed on the highway there. That's pretty telling about what's going on in this area, is that semis are keeping a pretty good speed. I don't see any flashing hazards, so those red lights are not flashing on and off, which is also great news, indicating that the roads are drivable. However, they are wet, so make sure that you are controlling your speed and not going too fast here, because wet roads can still be hazardous. However, we are not seeing any major slowdowns on this road at this time. Great questions today. We appreciate all of your questions. Just a reminder that we do a noon forecast every single day, right around noon, 12:15. So feel free to jump on for your forecast tomorrow. We have another round of storms, at least through the southern plains and out to the southeast, not only tomorrow, but also Saturday. Tomorrow is Friday, y'all. Is it? What's today? Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Okay, let me get this right. I may not know the days, but I absolutely know the weather. We not only have a risk for storms tomorrow here in Oklahoma and out in Texas on Thursday, but we have another round of storms on Friday and Saturday across the southern plains and across the southeast. So we're just going to see this round of storms over and over and over. Yesterday, we saw those storms in Kansas City, in Norman, in Wichita. And actually, John, if you'll go over to OBS And if we can look at some of those videos from Wichita and Norman yesterday, we can show some of the flooding impacts that we saw yesterday out in Norman and in Wichita. It was quite fascinating to see. Perfect, yes. So this is the tornado that is just west of Norman yesterday. This tornado touched down in Newcastle, just southwest of Oklahoma City. The National Weather Service has given this a preliminary rating of an EF1. Basically, the entire metro of Oklahoma City yesterday was under a tornado warning right around rush hour. It was a very, very busy afternoon and probably a very intense situation for those drivers on the roads out there. Now moving to the Wichita storms yesterday. Out in Wichita, check out this flooding. Rescue crews had to be sent out to Wichita, Kansas. You can see them in a red lifeboat out there. This was a very common scene yesterday afternoon, where they had to rescue people out of their cars just over and over yesterday. Actually, the Kansas Department of Transportation were putting signs on the roadways yesterday saying, "Eyes on the road, flooding possible ahead." And you'll see another few cars here that were stuck in the roads, and even some people's back porch. The water came all the way up to their back porch, and you'll see those photos here in just a few minutes. Watch this water rescue right here. You can see the rescue crews throw the rope over to this man who's in a very scary situation, you know. You always think you can make it through the roadways, and this is a very scary situation. And there's that picture of the water coming right up to their back porch. Wow. So we're thinking of everyone in Wichita who was doing cleanup after the flooding yesterday. Very, very busy day yesterday, but I know a few people are asking once again about St. Louis. So let's go right back to St. Louis and let's get another check of the storms in this area. An update on St. Louis. There is no tornado warning in this area right now. There is a tornado warning up to the north, up in Lake Charles. However, there is no tornado warning, St. Charles. But there is no tornado warning in St. Louis right now. Probably what you're seeing out there in the St. Louis area and out to the west, what you're seeing are heavy downpours and potentially some high wind with this as well. I can tell you we've had at least one storm report here near Chesterfield, but technically it's in the Wildwood area. And this storm report came in about a report of large trees that had snapped and a roof or the side of the garage that was heavily damaged and then debris strewn around. And again, this is in Wildwood. It came in at 2:51, so about 40 minutes ago, just after that tornado warning was issued. So we were really glad that they had that warning issued in this area. Alrighty, and that is it for our live coverage today. If we have any more significant storms in any large cities, we of course will go live again. So hit that follow button and we will be keeping an eye on the weather. I know that you guys have just seen me and you've heard me talk to John back here. However, Hailtrace has a team of meteorologists that always have their hands and their eyes on the storms. So we will be keeping an eye on storms for you as we go throughout the next few days in a very busy and active weather pattern. Alrighty, thanks for joining us today. We will see you back here for the noon forecast tomorrow.